Did you hit that?
No, I almost did.
Oh, I thought that I heard you smack it.
Maybe I did. What's the symbolic meaning of flies? Because maybe it's just springtime.
Death. Everything means
But
death.
I was teaching yoga this morning and there's this fly that was like, bzz, bzz, bzz.
Death.
It's gotta mean something. Does that mean? Is this my last moment?
No.
You poisoned this, didn't you?
Poisoned pineapple.
Welcome in yet again for another episode of the Serious Spirituality
But not so.
podcast.
Especially this one.
We are your hosts. My name is Halina Schriefer.
My name is Paul Narus.
And we are here.
I had to think about that for a minute.
Who are you today? Who am I? Who are we? That's what we're here to find out today on our Serious Spirituality podcast.
Oh, man. No, man.
If this is your first time watching us, welcome. We invite you to check out our previous episodes. We have all kinds of different things. You can go to the podcast section of YouTube and scroll on down through there. Find something that you fancy and give it a listen. Give it a like too.
Only if you fancy.
Only if you fancy it. But today, very special episode for you. Just gonna say that every time.
Every time.
So, we got a treat for you. Quit the Comfort is the title we came up with, but it might change.
Quit the comfort, quit babying
Quit
yourself.
babying yourself. It's a working title. Today we're going to be talking about how we can get really comfortable in our life and limit our potential because we're not actually in the work of healing and spiritual development. So we're here to whip us into shape.
And this ain't going to be an episode about stop reading all the books and take action either.
It's not?
No, it's going to be about taking action.
Oh, so don't read the books, but take action?
Well, it's just, that comes off too directly. Like, so many people hear that. Like, or they'll say it themselves. I guess I just got to stop reading about meditation and start meditating.
Oh, and just do it?
Yeah.
Stop reading and researching? I get that because, I don't know, I like to YouTube. I've been hanging out with my new friend Michael Singer. If you haven't read The Untethered Soul, read The Untethered Soul.
Her new friend.
Yeah, he's my BFF. Sorry, dude.
You're going to have to let Jesus know.
Sorry, dude. Shh, don't tell the Christ.
Don't tell Christ.
He's been replaced by Michael Singer. Yeah, but I definitely get so deep into my YouTubing and listening to all these wonderful teachers. But the challenge is actually applying these principles that they talk about.
Well, yeah.
Which is what we're here to talk about today.
In a very shorthand form, yes.
We could spend many episodes. So I'm not going to swear. I really want to say get off your A. But when did you get off your butt?
Is that ass?
Yeah, but I'm not swearing.
Oh.
Except I said the S word a couple times the other day.
Yep, and a couple times the day before.
And a couple times, but I'm back on track. Fell off the wagon a little bit.
Only once today so far.
So when did you get off your A and realize you needed to make some dramatic change in your life?
I think it happens repeatedly. You start to make progress. Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to yawn.
You're putting me to sleep.
You start to make progress and then you become complacent in that progress. You just plateau, but that's okay. It's all right to do it that way, but you got to realize when you hit the plateau that it's time to get back at it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, if you chart it on a course, it's like people talk about shadow work all the time. Oh, I'm doing the work. What, did you actually just do it once and you made some progress, and then
Okay,
you
all
haven't dug
done.
back in
Whew,
again.
thank God I made it through that
I'm
one.
healed, you know? And that's the kind of circumstances that we find ourselves in, or we'll hit a wall where it's like, I don't even know what I'm looking for anymore. And sometimes it's necessary to metaphorically slap yourself around and get back in there, or get called out for it. And
What's
that's
in
what I'm
there?
here for,
What's in
calling
there?
you out.
Get back in there.
Inside yourself.
That's what I just wanted to know. I just wanted you to go deeper into the in there. Get back in there.
Put the pads on, strap your skates on, get in front of the
This ain't no
goal.
hockey game.
Oh, we're not talking about hockey. It's playoff season. Yeah.
Yeah, in there, not
The
out there.
depth inside of yourself.
Well, and I'll roll with that because the in there is so important because the out there is here to distract us. When we, oh man, like, another job that I'm not happy with. Oh man, another relationship I'm not happy with. Let me get another job. Let me get another relationship. But what needs to shift within us to break those patterns, to break those cycles of re-traumatization, to bring us into something greater, bring us closer to ourselves. We continually limit ourselves on our potential when we make these, when you say action, like a lot of times I think we think of outside of ourselves, and sometimes that's called for, but there needs to be interaction first. We need to understand correct me if I'm wrong or if you see things differently, but we need to connect with why we're taking action to begin with. Are we bypassing something because we don't want to do this other thing, have this difficult conversation, leave this relationship, leave this job, or deal with, whatever it is that, caused us harm in the past? Going in and experiencing that wound first.
Well, I think with conversation or communication in general, like if you have the opportunity to have a communication with somebody in the exterior and that's going to solve the issue, and you know that deep down, and you're going inside and saying, I'm just going to move past this, that is bypassing right away. And you have to have the conversation, otherwise you don't move forward. You just push it down deeper. And that's where we all run into problems, is all this stuff that's pushed down deep inside of us. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if I have something else to say. I didn't know if I
Go.
But so conversations are really interesting, and something I've been observing in myself and others is there's a lot of times we first jump to having conversation without doing the inner work first. And a lot of times what that looks like is blame, is, well, you made me feel uncomfortable because of this, or this thing happened, and I need this to change. But really, conversations are there for us to reflect each other, to be open-hearted with each other, and it's not about requesting change from the external world. It's about, let me get in touch with the parts of myself that are unhealed so I can show these people around me myself. Where do I have room to grow? And I think where many times, if we're noticing that we're having a lot of conversations, making requests of others, asking for change or calling other people out, if there's not a balance of asking for help, asking for accountability, then I think something's off. And then that's when we're blaming the external world versus taking responsibility for our inner state of being.
You see, when I was talking, we were already at that step.
Yeah, well, go on.
Thanks for explaining.
Oh,
No, that was it.
oh, that's it. But I mean, do you
as
agree?
far
Do you
as
just-
whether
do
it's
you-
bypassing or not.
Well, yeah. So, but that's where, at Ordinary Pioneer, we teach about compassionate communication. But compassionate communication, if we skip the steps of understanding how we feel first, then we're just making requests. We're demonstrating that we are unpleased with the circumstances outside of ourselves. We're wanting them to change. And so that's what we're asking. But guess what? People outside of us aren't going to change because of us. They have to be willing themselves on their own accord to do that.
And they also have to be right in it too.
Yeah.
Like, no one should ever ask you to change who you are based on how their comfort level is with the way you are. So when you recognize that coming from yourself or another individual, that's where there needs to be more assessment put into it. But don't take your foot off the gas though either. Just, have the conversations. If someone approaches you and says, I don't like the words that you used in this situation, you can say, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but at the same time, those are the words I know to use in this situation. And those are the words I'm going to continue to probably use in that situation. And you're just going to have to find a way to either be comfortable with that or not.
Yeah, and there's a fear that comes up with being that honest, I think, in our relationships. For me, it's always been fear of abandonment or humiliation. Like those are the top two that I've run into with being honest with people. Or being seen as, if somebody comes to me and says, I don't like how you said this thing, I see it as, oh man, I did a bad thing, like shame on me. And then I feel a lot of guilt. So there's a lot of emotion with that, but reinforcing what you're saying, if you spoke truthfully in whatever situation it was and you use the words that resonated with you, then that's great. That's great. Your words don't need to be at other people's comfort level, because for every one person that is uncomfortable with your words, somebody else may have had a really profound experience and needed you to say those exact same words in order for them to get into this aha moment. But I think I know that's something that you've taught me, is to own the language that I use and not focus so much on making people feel comfortable, because in that discomfort, that's where growth is available, which I think is ultimately the point that we're getting at in this episode, right?
Right.
Like that's why the discomfort exists.
Right. It's not comfortable going through these processes, especially on the inner self. We don't want to admit that we're damaged or admit that, we have flaws or traumas or things like that. And I use the word flaw very loosely there, because that's just an interpretation of the mind. But what I'm getting at, though, is that structurally inside of ourselves, we have these problems, these issues that we want to, if we're creating, like I was saying earlier, and you guys weren't there, if we were creating a sculpture of ourselves as an individual and we were molding the clay of what we want to present to the world, we can't leave the flaws, we can't leave the air bubbles and the little gaps inside of ourselves. We have to go in and work on that part of ourselves, otherwise we could self-destruct at any moment, or at least our image will self-destruct. And that's what we fear the most, right? Is if we're hiding our true selves from the exterior world, what our biggest fear really is the outer world seeing our actual true self on the inside. So if that shell crumbles away and you're left with this disfigured sadness inside of you, and the world sees that, you're scared of letting that happen. So this is about becoming vulnerable and not putting that shell out there, or fixing the interior part of yourself to an extent that it's acceptable to yourself and to the world around you. And I don't mean that as what the others think matters. I mean that if you want to be something in particular, you have to go inside and make that from the inside out. as opposed from just putting on a mask.
Welcome to the Ordinary Pioneer Spiritual Healing Community, where we offer gifts of healing, allowing for low and no income individuals to receive healing services at low to no cost. To support our mission, visit ordinarypioneer.com and make a donation. Your donation supports members of the community in receiving the support they need to experience peace.
I see that as a part of the human experience that we don't always embrace fully. We do get embarrassed when flaws are realized, whether by ourselves or other people, and we think, oh, how could I have done that? Well, we're human beings. Like yes, we're spirit, but we've been blessed to be in these bodies, and the whole game is for us to forget who we are. And in that forgetfulness, we fall short. We hurt people, and that's okay. Are we course correcting each time though? Or are we burying deeper and deeper into ourselves these flaws and trying to hide from the world and give out this perception that, I'm a righteous being. I'm all healed. I'm all, all like, and
I'm safe, I'm nice, I'm
yes,
clean.
right. All of that. And don't get me wrong,
help.
I use, in my own healing journey, I use the word purification, but I use it as a prayer. Purify me. And that's an acknowledgement that I realize that there is this part of me that is going through the washing machine right now. And on the spin cycle,
They say not even to put cats in there.
Don't put cats in there. It'd be terrible. It's not good luck. But yeah, I see that as that's the whole point of this, is to realize where we've forgotten ourselves and acknowledge to the divine forces, acknowledge to our higher self that I see that there's this human being that I am operating as, and there is flaw there, and giving thanks for this journey, because each time I realize a level of impurity within me is an opportunity for greater purification, because then I can heal that wound and finally release this part that I've been separated from and enter into more light, to allow that light to come through in a stronger way. And I don't know why, but it feels good to do that. It feels good to have more light. So I'm just going to keep doing that.
Not to continue with the craftsmanship
Please do.
Analogies, but it's like tempering steel. You have to hit it with a hammer a bunch of times to get the slag to
beat the S out of it.
The S. Beat the sweet nectar of slag out of
pulp
it.
out of it. That's another one, isn't it?
Pulp.
Yeah.
Well, the point is that it's called slag.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it's
the actual...
the dark, yeah.
Oh, okay. My bad.
The dark flaws in tempering steel.
Right. Another question.
The S. Beat the S out of it.
Another question that's coming through for us to ponder is, so with discomfort, how do we know that this discomfort is something we should step into or step away from? We can, I think, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and in a harmful way. If we're in a relationship that is not serving us, maybe our partner is constantly talking down to us, or maybe they are, always stressed out and blaming us, or whatever it may be, or an environment, that like a job. I don't know, those are two top examples that I typically use, but the job is uncomfortable. How do we know I need to be in this discomfort and stick it out versus I need to get the H out of here?
The H.
It's my new gag.
You could say heck,
No.
It's so much
I
weirder
can't.
when you just say the letter.
I will be impure.
Ugh.
Anyways, what's your answer?
I don't know. I'm thrown off by the H word.
I mean, we talk about this with fear. How do we know that this is, instead of discomfort, we could use fear? How do we know that this is good fear, or in terms of I'm doing something, that is outside my comfort zone, but I know is serving for me. So I go into it versus this is a situation I need to get out of because it's harmful.
Yeah, well, I think we have an innate ability with both of those because with fear, it's easier to describe. Am I scared to talk to this person because of judgment, because of this, because of that? Or am I scared because someone's pointing a gun in my face?
Right. Should probably do something about that.
That's an easy
Yeah.
discernment to make. So I think there's an intuitive quality to it. We just know what danger, whether it's physical danger or emotional danger or spiritual danger, I think we know on each of those levels inherently.
Yeah. And we've talked about a couple times on these episodes about intuition and how using our intuition to determine, is this the path for me? Is this where I'm being led? And for me, a lot of times I'll feel the cues in my body. And if it's something that typically it'll hit my solar plexus. And so this is like the powerful practice of yoga can really help with this because it teaches body awareness. Or if you do progressive relaxation, yoga nidra, something like that, it helps us to feel into the energy of the body. And sensations can be strong, but even those strong sensations could be good or bad. So is this excitement or is this anxiety? Those can be interchangeable. But if it's something that persists, that begins to make us feel sick, to me, that's a strong indication that this isn't for me. And that was what I started to run into at my job that I had back in the day.
Back in the day when I worked.
Back in the day when I worked. Didn't sit around
when I was
talking
a
to cameras all
productive
day.
member of society.
But I literally got sick and I sucked it up and I was like, I need to provide for my family. I need to be an active member of society. I'm supposed to work. That's what we're supposed to do. But Spirit was leading me on a path that was like going from discomfort to discomfort. But one was a lot stronger and one was progressing in a negative way. If I would have stayed at my job, I say in my mind, it probably could have killed me, at least stress takes years off of your life. So literally that's what's happening. But if I would have stayed there, I was just seeing this downhill, rolling downhill,
Downward
versus
spiral.
That's it. Versus I was like, I'm going to be uncomfortable either way. I'm either uncomfortable in my job or I'm uncomfortable not having a job. But with the discomfort of not having my job, I know that my body's healing. So that's the obvious choice for me. And that's where I ended up making that decision. So there's discomfort either way, but
right.
I want to heal and I can't do that. I'm limited,
Right.
Recognizing the limitations.
That is correct.
I think a question, too, that we need to ask ourselves is, how far are we willing to go in this whole spiritual journey? What are we willing to surrender to or give up, to release from our lives? And I've been thinking a lot about clinging to things and attaching to things. And, at some point, if this whole ordinary pioneer experiment dissolves, that would be really tough for me, in all honesty. I would have a really hard time releasing that from my life, but I have to remember that when one thing releases from my life, that it's creating space for something else.
Right.
So how
You'd be
how
back
far
to
are we willing
working
to
in
go?
the pizza joint in no time.
I've never worked at a pizza joint. I don't think I ever will, unless it was out of my home and I just gave people free pizzas. That would be nice. I'm not even that great at making pizzas. I'd do it though.
Yeah, you're really selling this pizza idea. Hope
I'm
Ordinary
not trying
Pioneer
to.
works out.
I know. Don't quit your day job to make pizzas for the needy.
You don't even seem into it.
No, I'm not. I make lasagna though. That'd be great. So tell me more.
I don't. This is about not being comfortable. It's not being complacent. It's not saying, "Oh, sweetie, it's okay." It's saying, "Oh, buddy, get up and do it,"
Mm-hmm.
or don't even ask. Just go.
Do you think that
You don't have to have a conversation with yourself every time and convince yourself to heal. You either want to or you
it
don't.
just happens?
Yeah.
If there's a willingness there, yep, then just let go
Then
and
just do it.
let it happen. Do you think that in spiritual communities that there is a level of gentleness and
Yes.
softening, and why do you think that is? Why have we gotten soft?
What do you mean gotten?
Why do you think we're soft?
Well, one, and I don't mean this to be a sexist statement by any means, but one, it's a mainly female-based industry, if you want to call it that. There's a lot more emotion that goes into it as opposed to the masculine action part of it.
Right.
So there's a lot more thinking and feeling than there is knowing and acting. That's what, like, in the dynamic of feminine and masculine, the woman imparts, the man knows, action is taken at its rudimentary form.
Yeah.
So that I'm not saying there's not a place for that, but what I'm saying is there has to be someone in the community that applies the pressure when the pressure needs to be applied, that takes the action when the action needs to be taken. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of people commiserating.
Right. And that's a feminine quality, I think, is the emotional support system, which is incredibly valuable. But I agree with what you're saying, that there's, and it isn't a gender thing. It's feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah, it's
and
just people have both.
right. And that's something that in myself, I've put a lot of emphasis on balancing the feminine and the masculine. And right now I'm in an upward spiral of my masculine
She's getting aggressive.
side. I'm getting more aggressive. I'm taking karate.
It's got to be the karate.
It's got to be karate. Well, which honestly was one of my intentions, because I spend, when I first started my yoga journey, I was very much in the masculine energy. I mean, I literally worked with a bunch of men, using power tools and all kinds of things. And I loved it. It was great. But I wasn't tapping into that feminine side. And so when I started Ordinary Pioneer, I was the old Italian grandmother letting everybody in and come in and receive my comfort.
Would you like some lasagna?
Yeah, you want some lasagna, you want some tea, and beautiful, beautiful face to bring that feminine energy back in. And now, then I started to get complacent in that, and I wasn't taking action, and it was all about feeling and more feeling and more feeling. But then we get stuck there. So now learning to be more aggressive with my healing journey, and by aggressive, I mean actually getting dirty into it. I mean, having difficult conversations, making big changes in my life, and all of that disrupted this very strong feminine energy. But now I'm learning to balance them both. Is
Right.
this a time for rest, or is this a time for action? Is this a time for feeling, or is this time for deep contemplation? What is most serving me right now, and where am I stuck? Where am I not moving forward? So I agree in it. And it's also reflected in the attendance at a lot of spiritual gatherings. I mean, it's mostly feminines that show up because me identifying as a feminine, we feel safe going into these spaces with all women. But what I want to really bring about, and I think we do well at Ordinary Pioneer, is really bring the masculines into this space too. And I really try to give them a platform to speak and to teach us.
Yeah, we have a significant amount of men who come here and seek that release that comes from that feminine energy, but they also have, it's almost unspoken that they are usually taking action from a place they are in their life. And it's not that they're running to the feminine for support. It's that they're taking action in the best way they see possible, which is exactly what we do here, is help people find that action, but or find that space. Having a more masculine influence in the space, I think, has opened this community up quite a bit to, I mean, from where we began till now, I mean, we have quite a few regular male practitioners who aren't just sitting in a room for emotional support. They're in the room to do the work. So,
yeah. I have one more thing to say that's coming, maybe more will come through, but going off of the feminine and the masculine, where if we spend a lot of time in the feminine, and I'm using this as a reflection in my own life, then the moment we switch over and decide I need to take action, that I think is where a lot of the discomfort comes in, because not only in ourselves, in the inner experience, but for the people around us, they notice a shift. And so I know a lot of you, and you've been pretty consistent. I don't know if you've really had to deal with this much in your life, but if we've built a life a certain way, and then all of a sudden we change gears, we awaken to something, and we operate differently, or we decide to change our job, or leave a relationship, or either, whatever, the people around us could have a really hard time working through that for themselves. And that's where the action can become very scary for many, because it means great change is happening, which is powerful. I mean, I think we're not underestimating the power of change that comes in when we take action. But I think that's why a lot of people get stuck, is because we know what to do. We know what needs to be done in order for us to level up, we'll say. But we don't do it many times because of the fear of change. But guess what? Change is coming for you anyways. Sorry. It's coming anyways.
don't apologize to me. I've been saying it for years.
Because if we're enlightened to a new way of being, that's it. It's locked into the soul, and we're going there regardless. It's how much are we going to resist and cling on to the shore before we're whipped off into the ocean.
Again, why does that involve physical violence?
It's my masculine phase.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not sorry about it.
Heal! Heal! Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Have you had to deal with that? Like, have you had people be like, okay.
Well, wait, you mean personally? Like,
Well, yeah, like
shifting?
have you had people be like, wait, you're different now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. What did you do about it?
Nothing. What do I care?
That's what I'm saying. If we could all be like Paul Narus here and just be like, whatever, man. Like Dwayne from Full House. How did you get to that point where you don't care what people think about you?
I
know I've asked you this before, but
really don't know.
It's just you just never really
it's
cared.
just a thing. No, that's not necessarily true. And I still care to a certain extent, but it's just like it's unimportant. Like, I'll be like, oh, I hope they like me. But at the same time, I'm like, could care less if they do.
Yeah.
It's more for their sake than mine.
What's more for their sake?
The liking part.
Yeah. And why do you say that?
I don't know, because maybe they can learn something or be comfortable learning something from me.
Like what?
If not, then whatever.
Would you say you have a strong understanding of who you are? So if somebody doesn't like you, that there's either a misunderstanding or it's simply not resonant. Like
I'm
there's-
probably at the same place as everybody else as to how much I understand myself. It's just not something that's important to me.
What is important then? What do you emphasize over?
Learning, healing, naps are cool. Colorado Avalanche hockey,
Who are you looking at?
the people.
No, they're not. Anyways, well, that's a wrap.
If you can call it that.
Thank you for joining us once again. And we appreciate your comments. And if you have any questions on this topic or any requests for any new topics, go ahead and put them in the comments. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and the little dingle bell. I'm just going to call it a dingle bell with the H-man. And if you're new to our community, welcome to Ordinary Pioneer. We invite you to visit our website, ordinarypioneer.com, and check out our mission. We offer healing services, classes for low and no income individuals. We're donation-based and nonprofit. And so if you feel led to gift us a donation to help support this community and to support this mission, we greatly appreciate it. Every dollar counts, and I really mean that. Every dollar counts, and we know with your donation you are on board and fueling this mission energetically, and for that, we give thanks. So you're not going to say goodbye, that's it. Here, we'll just say
you didn't say goodbye.
Is that
you
it?
just said thanks.
That's the bye.
Goodbye, everybody. Now it's
Goodbye.
your turn.
Until next time.